I want you to picture something for a second. Think back to that classic, almost nostalgic image of the old school milkman.
Oh, yeah.
You know the one I mean. He's driving a little white truck, arriving right at dawn, and just leaving those cold glass bottles clinking on your front porch.
Right. It's a very simple, quiet image.
Exactly. It's quiet. Well, welcome to 2026. Because that quiet morning routine has turned into a $1 trillion high-tech bloodbath.
It really has.
Today, it is no longer just a guy in a truck. It is a hyper-competitive logistics machine operating entirely in the palm of your hand.
It really is a profound transformation. I mean, we have taken one of the oldest, most analog neighborhood delivery systems in existence and basically strapped a digital rocket engine to it.
We really did. So whether you're an entrepreneur eyeing the dairy market, a tech enthusiast, or just incredibly curious about how the digital economy actually works beneath the surface, this deep dive is for you.
Yeah.
We are looking at the hidden algorithms, the geographical pricing wars, and the brutal digital taxes behind modern delivery apps based on a great stack of research we have today.
Yeah, there is a lot to get through.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I think most people assume a milk delivery app is just a digital order form. You know, you click a button, milk shows up.
Right.
But the stakes are wildly high here.
They are, and we need to set those stakes right away because this isn't just about moving a few bottles of milk around a neighborhood anymore.
No.
Statista recently projected that the global dairy industry will reach a staggering $1,243.9 billion by 2028.
Wait, $1,243 billion. So that is over $1.2 trillion.
Exactly.
Trillion.
With the T. Just for dairy.
Precisely. And in a market with that much capital flowing through it, creating an app to get a slice of that pie isn't just a fun marketing idea. It is absolute survival.
Yeah, I can see that.
The modern consumer expects their milk, their cheese, their daily groceries delivered to their doorstep seamlessly. If you aren't on their home screen, you simply don't exist to them. Right. But knowing the market is a $1 trillion ocean doesn't mean you just, blindly throw money at a development agency and hope for the best.
Definitely not.
We really need to define what this digital product actually is and what it costs to build. Because when you look at the landscape, the price tag is all over the map.
It is a massive spectrum. I mean, total development costs range from about $15,000 all the way up to well over $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And that completely depends on the complexity of the features, the platforms you are targeting, like whether you want it on both iOS and Android, and crucially, the geographical location of your development team.
Well, let's actually dig into those tiers because it helps to understand what you are buying at each price point.
Sure.
First, you have the basic tier. This runs you between $15,000 and $30,000. And from what I understand, this is just the absolute bare bones essentials.
Very much, yeah.
You get user registration, a static product catalog, simple ordering, a basic payment gateway, and manual delivery tracking.
Right, manual being the operative word there.
Yeah.
Mechanically, a basic tier app is essentially just a digital brochure with a cash register attached. The app isn't really doing any heavy lifting for the delivery driver or the warehouse.
So if a customer wants to know where their milk is,
they might literally have to call customer service, who then texts the driver.
Oh, wow. So you're basically paying 15 to 30 grand just to give people a way to hand you their credit card? I mean, it's like buying a reliable bicycle. It gets you from point A to point B, but you are doing all the pedaling.
That is a perfect way to put it. You are definitely doing all the pedaling.
But then you move up to the mid-level tier. This costs between $30,000 and $60,000. It has everything from the basic tier, but adds real-time GPS tracking, push notifications, subscription management, and an admin dashboard.
And that admin dashboard is where the business actually starts to digitize its operations.
Okay.
Now, instead of a clipboard or a spreadsheet, the warehouse manager has a live view of orders. Customers get automated pings when the truck is 3 blocks away.
Which I imagine reduces those customer service calls drastically.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes a huge operational load off your staff.
Right. And then we reach the heavyweight category, the advanced tier.
The big one.
Yeah. This is where a business is spending $60,000 to, well, over $100,000.
Easily.
This includes everything we just mentioned, plus AI-powered recommendations, highly complex route optimization, and multi-vendor support.
And advanced predictive analytics, too.
Right. But I have to push back here. I really do. $100 grand. Is a $100,000 app really necessary for delivering a carton of milk.
It sounds wild, I know.
I mean, why is there a massive price jump just for AI and route optimization? It is literally just milk. The advanced app feels like a self-driving delivery truck when maybe you just needed a regular car.
What's fascinating here is that the highest cost drivers are those exact complex features because they fundamentally change the mechanism of the business.
How sick.
Well, you're no longer just paying for a button that says buy milk. Think about how route optimization actually works. Imagine a driver with 50 stops scattered across a city. A human dispatcher maps that out linearly, probably by zip code.
Right, the traditional way.
But an advanced algorithm analyzes live traffic conditions, the number of left-hand turns, historical delay data, and even milk spoilage time simultaneously.
All at once.
Yeah. It generates a dynamic route that cuts fuel costs and delivery times by up to 20%.
Okay, so the algorithm is actively doing the math that a human brain just can't process at that speed.
Exactly. And the predictive AI works similarly. It isn't just suggesting random products. It is analyzing a family's purchasing history.
Right.
So the system predicts that a specific household runs out of 2% milk every Thursday. So on Wednesday, it automatically sends a push notification asking if they want to add it to tomorrow's delivery.
Oh, wow. That is incredibly smart.
Right. You're paying for a system that preempts consumer behavior and automates a logistical nightmare. That is the ROI on a $100,000 app.
Sure, I see the value now. An algorithm cutting 20% of your fuel costs over a fleet of trucks pays for itself eventually.
Absolutely.
Saving an hour on gas doesn't instantly justify a $100,000 upfront cost for, say, a medium-sized dairy farm trying to digitize. How does a business actually afford that?
It's tough.
Which brings us to the blueprint of how these apps are actually built, because how much you pay is entirely dictated by who is doing the typing and where they are sitting.
That is the reality of geographic arbitrage.
Right.
The digital world has no borders, but the economic realities of different countries vary wildly. If you hire a senior software developer in the US or the UK, you are going to pay between $100 and $200 an hour.
Which, on a complex build that takes thousands of hours over several months, is going to bleed a budget dry incredibly fast.
It really will. But if you tap into tech talent in Eastern Europe, that hourly rate drops to $30 to $70.
That is a massive difference.
And if you look at India, it drops to $20 to $50 an hour.
I have to ask the obvious question, though. Is the code written by a $20 an hour developer in India functionally the same as the code written by a $200 an hour developer in Silicon Valley?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because usually you get what you pay for, right?
It is a valid concern. But the underlying reason for that massive price gap is primarily cost of living parity, not necessarily a lack of skill.
Okay.
You can find world-class engineers in Kyiv or Bangalore. However, you do pay a different kind of tax when you offshore.
What kind of tax?
You are paying in communication friction, 12-hour time zone differences, and cultural language barriers.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah, managing an offshore team requires a highly disciplined project manager, or that cheap hourly rate will actually end up costing you more in endless revisions and delayed launches.
That makes perfect sense. The cheap hourly rate comes with a management tax.
Exactly.
And it isn't just where you build it, it's what you build it with. The architectural blueprint, the tech stack, dictates the cost as well, right?
Oh, heavily.
Because building something with simple HTML or CSS is relatively cheap. But the second you start requiring Java, custom cloud services, or native mobile frameworks for iOS, the price just skyrockets.
Because you are moving from building a static digital brochure to constructing a highly secure interactive database.
Right.
HTML is just painting the walls. Java and custom cloud architectures are building the plumbing, the electrical grid, and the security systems necessary to process thousands of credit card transactions a minute without crashing.
Yeah, you don't want your app crashing when people are trying to buy their groceries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It requires specialized engineering.
And beyond just the programming languages, there is the foundational choice of how you approach the build.
Yes, the big decision.
You generally have two choices, right? A white label solution or a custom build.
That's right.
Let me give you an analogy for how this works. A white label solution is kind of like renting a fully furnished apartment. It is fast, the upfront cost is relatively low, maybe $2,000 to $20,000, and you can move in or open your doors in a few weeks. The system works out of the box.
It's very turnkey.
Exactly. But a custom build is like architecting your own independent house from the ground up. It takes 3 to 12 months, it costs anywhere from $15,000 to $200,000, and you have to design everything yourself.
That's a great way to think about it.
Now, if the white label solution is so much faster and so much cheaper up front, why wouldn't every single dairy business just do that?
Because when you rent a furnished apartment, you don't own the building.
Right.
Yes, the white label app is fast and cheap to launch, but you have limited ownership of the product. It is completely controlled by the platform provider.
Meaning you can't change things if you want to.
Exactly. You have strict boundaries on customization.
Yeah.
If you suddenly want to add a highly specific AI feature to predict cheese sales, and your white label provider doesn't offer that feature, you are out of luck.
Wow.
You are locked into their ecosystem. Plus, you're paying recurring licensing fees forever.
Right. You never stop paying rent on that software.
Exactly. Whereas with a custom build, you own the house. You own every line of code. It is infinitely scalable.
So you can build whatever you want.
You can build any feature you want, whenever you want. So while the upfront cost is intimidating, the long-term cost per user actually goes down as you scale because you aren't paying a third party for every transaction.
Okay, so you really have to decide if you are playing a short-term survival game or a long-term dominance game.
Precisely.
But if you are an entrepreneur mapping out your budget on a whiteboard right now, this is the part where you need to pay very close attention.
Yeah, brace yourselves.
Because the initial price tag we've been talking about, that is just the tip of the iceberg. There are hidden costs lurking beneath the surface that will absolutely upend your math and ruin your budget.
The iceberg effect is the silent killer in software development.
Let's look at the actual mechanisms of these hidden costs. First up, server and cloud scaling.
Right. So when you launch a brand new app, your hosting bill with Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud might only be $50 to $200 a month.
Which is nothing.
It seems completely manageable. You only have a few hundred users.
Right, pocket change for a business.
But what happens when you run a massive local promotion and suddenly 10,000 people try to order milk at 7 a.m. on a Monday?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Your servers have to automatically scale their computing power to handle that traffic spike so the app doesn't crash. And your cloud provider bills you for that computation.
Thus a bill just shoots up.
Suddenly, your $50 monthly bill is $2,000.
Yeah.
If you haven't optimized your backend architecture, success can actually bankrupt you in server costs.
That is terrifying, to be penalized for going viral.
It happens all the time.
And then there are the digital storefront taxes, the App Store fees.
Oh, yes?
Apple charges a $99 annual developer fee, and Google Play has a $25 one-time fee, which, again, sounds completely fine.
Until you look at the mechanism of in-app transactions.
Right.
Both Apple and Google mandate a 15 to 30% commission on in-app purchases and digital subscriptions that flow through their native billing systems.
A 30% tax on milk. That is brutal.
It's a huge cut.
We all know that traditional grocery and dairy margins are famously razor thin. I mean, sometimes as low as 1 to 3% profit.
Exactly.
If Apple is taking 30% of a digital subscription, the math completely breaks. You either have to inflate the cost of your milk significantly, or the delivery app is just operating as a massive loss leader.
It completely disrupts the traditional financial model.
Yeah, it does.
And if you somehow navigate the server costs and the App Store tax, you still have a massive problem. An app sitting perfectly in the App Store does you absolutely no good if no one ever downloads it.
Right. Which brings us to user acquisition.
Marketing.
Yes.
The cost to acquire a user through targeted social media ads, local promotions, influencer partnerships often ends up dwarfing the entire development budget of the app.
Wait, really? The marketing costs more than the app itself.
Very often, yes. Building the software is only half the battle. Think about it. Convincing a busy family to change their morning routine, download your specific app, input their credit card, and trust you to deliver their breakfast.
That's a lot of friction.
Exactly. That behavioral change is incredibly extensive to market.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Because when you look at all these massive costs, how do you avoid blowing your budget before you even launch? And the counterintuitive answer is you build less.
You build a minimum viable product, an MVP.
Exactly. I think a massive mistake businesses make here comes down to pure ego.
Oh, absolutely.
An owner sees what Uber or Amazon can do, and they want that perfect Tier 3 advanced app on day one. They want the flashy dashboard, the AI, the route optimization.
Sure, everybody wants the shiny new toy.
Right. But because they build all of that without ever testing if their local market actually wants the service, they end up with wildly overbuilt features.
It is the most common trap in tech, building assumptions instead of building solutions.
Yeah.
Starting lean is the only proven antidote. An MVP means you launch with just the absolute core functionality needed to validate your business idea.
So keeping it to the basics.
Exactly. Maybe just a basic catalog, simple ordering, and a manual backend. You push it out to 100 local users, and you just watch what happens.
You let the market tell you what they actually need.
Precisely. Maybe you find out your users don't care about AI recommendations, but they desperately want a feature to pause deliveries when they go on vacation.
Which makes total sense for a daily delivery.
Right. And because you started lean, you haven't wasted $40,000 on AI. You can pivot your budget to build the vacation pause feature instead.
That is so smart.
By starting with an MVP, utilizing open source tools instead of custom coding everything from scratch, and scaling strictly based on real user feedback, businesses routinely save up to 40% on their total development costs.
40%. That is tens of thousands of dollars saved just by leaving your ego at the door and treating your first launch as an experiment rather than a final masterpiece.
It's the only way to survive.
Okay, so we've mapped out the massive upfront costs. We've warned everyone about the hidden iceberg of cloud servers, the 30% Apple tax, and the absolute necessity of starting with an MVP.
Right.
The logical follow-up here is, how does a business actually survive this? I mean, how do you turn a massive digital investment into a highly profitable machine?
You have to implement strategic monetization models that offset those costs. And the holy grail here is the subscription model.
Locking people in for daily, weekly, or monthly deliveries.
Right. It provides consistent, predictable, recurring revenue. Take an app like Milkbasket as a prime example of this working at scale.
Okay.
Users sign up, choose their quantity and type of milk, set a weekly schedule, and the deliveries just happen in the background of their lives.
It becomes invisible to the consumer.
Exactly. And from a business perspective, why is this so valuable? Because you aren't guessing how much milk to buy from the farm or how much to load onto the trucks every morning.
You already know.
Yes. You know exactly what demand looks like weeks in advance. It eliminates inventory waste almost entirely.
But getting a new user to commit their credit card to a weekly subscription on day one, that is a huge ask.
It is, which is why successful apps hybridize their approach with a paper delivery model.
Ah.
It lowers the barrier to entry. It is perfect for new, commitment-phobic users. They only pay a small delivery fee when they manually place an order.
So they can test the waters.
Right. It gives them the flexibility to test your service, see that the milk arrives cold and on time, and build trust before they eventually convert into a subscriber.
That makes a lot of sense. And then there is my absolute favorite strategy for actually making real profit. Upselling and add-ons.
It's a classic for a reason.
I love the psychology of this. You acquire the customer by promising them fresh milk. Milk is the anchor, but milk is a low-margin item.
Very low.
So once they are inside the app ecosystem, you start suggesting high-margin items during the checkout process. Artisanal butter, specialized cheese, organic yogurt, premium ghee.
It is the digital equivalent of putting candy bars at the grocery store checkout aisle.
Yes. You don't need to spend massive marketing dollars to acquire a single new user to increase your profits. You just increase the total cart value of the users you already have. You get them with the milk, but you make the actual profit on the ghee.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, though, the app isn't just an engine for driving new revenue.
What do you mean?
One of the most critical mechanisms for turning a profit is how the app aggressively reduces operational costs.
By acting like a digital employee.
Exactly. Think about the manual labor required in a traditional dairy operation. Taking orders over the phone, manually keying in billing information, printing out route sheets for drivers.
Oh yeah, the paperwork alone.
And manually tracking which customer owes what at the end of the month. When an app handles all of this automatically, you drastically reduce your administrative overhead.
And you probably make fewer mistakes, too.
Way fewer. You eliminate the human errors in order taking that lead to costly refunds. And the route optimization algorithm we talked about earlier, that cuts fuel consumption. So the technology eventually pays for itself not just by selling more milk, but by making the physical act of delivering it significantly cheaper and lighter to run.
So, synthesizing everything we've just explored, building a milk delivery app in 2026 isn't just a basic coding exercise.
Not at all.
It is a highly complex strategic tightrope walk. You have to understand that your technological architecture, and whether you hire your developers in New York or Eastern Europe, will fundamentally dictate your baseline budget.
Absolutely.
You have to start lean with an MVP swallowing your ego to protect that budget from the hidden iceberg of cloud scaling and marketing costs.
Crucial step.
And you absolutely must have a bulletproof monetization plan heavily relying on subscriptions and upselling high-margin items to actually turn a profit.
It requires meticulous foresight. You cannot afford to just focus on the excitement of the development phase. You really have to architect the app for the harsh financial realities of the post-launch world.
Which brings me to a final, slightly dangerous thought I want to leave you with.
Right.
We talked about how Apple and Google take a 15 to 30% commission on digital subscriptions. And we know that the profit margins on physical groceries and dairy are notoriously razor thin.
Yep, very true.
It really makes you wonder, as we move forward, for hyper-local delivery apps to survive the next decade, are they going to have to find a way to bypass traditional app stores entirely?
That's a really interesting question.
Right. Will we see a rise in web-based apps just to dodge the Silicon Valley tax? Or will the cost of a simple carton of dairy just have to skyrocket to cover that 30% cut?
It's definitely something the industry has to reckon with.
It is. Just something for you to mull over next time you pour your morning cereal. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.